My talk is The Chosen by the Medicine, the hidden fallout of spirit-led decision-making in leadership and life. And I am the founder of Awaken the Medicine Within and Eudaimonia Institute. For over a decade, I've been immersed in the transformational space, psychedelics, mainly, working with 5-MeO, DMT, and psilocybin. I've been guiding thousands of individuals in ceremonies, mentoring leaders, practitioners, and even advising programs on spiritual, clinical, and business within this ecosystem. So across these years, and in the broader arc of my 30-year life of lifelong commitment, because this is a path that it didn't just start 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, it's a whole journey that I've been on. I've been honored to steward a lot of deep processes, and I've also had my own initiations, setbacks, missteps, blind spots. So the medicine path, like life itself, is not about perfection, it's about humility. And I'm not here to mock the mystical in any shape or form. I'm not to stand above it or to stand on the mountaintop. It's a reflection from the path itself. So what I offer today isn't any certainty, but perspective. And that is earned over time in relationship and slowness, with the hope that it actually serves like a mirror, a pause, and an anchor in the unfolding, and maybe not only in your journey, but in the wider ecosystem of psychedelics. And what I've come to value most isn't certainty. It's actually the courage to ask better questions. So let's go there. Beyond the vision, beyond the spaces of awe, but into a space of where discernment actually lives. Not to shame the visionary, but to bring nuance and some maturity, some grounded compassion to this conversation of post-ceremony decision-making. And here's the first inquiry, because the cornerstone of my talk is for us to start asking better questions. So let's start with that. And one of them is, I want to just see who here has heard the following. Don't make any major life decisions right after ceremony or a session. Yes, we've heard it. But why isn't it applied so often? And I'm not even talking about individuals going on a retreat or in a clinical setting. I'm also talking about the ecosystem. I'm better here. Okay, where was I? Luckily, I have notes. Oh, yes, that's where we were, but we're not applying them. Thank you. So another one is, that I've heard so many times as well, is just because you saw it in ceremony doesn't mean it's true. And if it is true, does it belong in your life right now? So let's start with that question. And I want to start with giving you some examples from the field itself. And each of them, I want to share with you that they're true and shaped by sincerity and a longing. And some of them are even shaped by a longing to really serve, to make a change. We're in a space of polarity, of confusion, of complexion. So we want to be here not to mock those who I'm bringing as case studies, okay? So one client who received a message during ceremony that she was meant to become a mother, from the inside of her body, this message came, spent 3 years in financial and physical exhaustion, IVF treatments, and is yet to conceive. Another example is an executive who reconstructed their entire company based on visionary downloads, only to watch it collapse. They later actually rebranded it from the same visionary downloads and nearly identical service elsewhere. The third one is a sales representative who was told in ceremony that he was meant to save humanity. And in ceremony was asked by a deity to sign a contract. And soon after offering services in expanded states of consciousness. Let's make it a little bit darker. Thank you. I feel so at place now. Yes.
I'll do a walk around and show you my outfit as well. Okay. So 3 reflections from these examples is there is a critical difference between insight and instruction. Mystical states are real, are beautiful, powerful, but without discernment, they become spiritual, rationalized trauma responses. Now let's be very honest. If a stranger walked into your house, sat next to you on the couch, and said, the shiny new person here you should go with, divorce your partner, uphold your family, would you do that? But yet, these messages we approach in the same way. And although I would knock on your door and invite you to this action, you wouldn't. Now, let's contextualize this a little bit. And I want to bring in, I don't know if you know it, but Keegan's adult developmental theory, which we evolve in complexity, not by bypassing it. So this theory, developed by Harvard psychologist Robert Keegan, describes how adults grow in different stages of meaning-making. In the early stages, individuals tend to be shaped by external influences and beliefs, and as they mature, they develop more internal clarity and discernment, learning to hold multiple perspectives and integrating conflicting truths. Insight without integration does not lead to growth. It leads to disorientation. Now, a French philosopher and mystic and activist, Simone Weil, said, real genius is nothing else than the supernatural virtue of humility in the domain of thought. And what we call revelation might actually be an early whisper of meaning. Maybe it's not even fully formed yet. So discernment, time, relational reflection are required before it becomes an embodied actual wisdom to act upon. Sometimes when we call revelation is simply the psyche's attempt to make meaning of unresolved parts of the psyche. And it takes time, it takes reflection, context to truly understand. Because vision without integration, to me, is the real hallucination. And I want to give an example of someone that I had a privilege to meet. Her name is Kazumi Oishi. She is a Japanese priestess and oracle. And she was born into a constellation where spirit-led decision-makings are revered, are an actual practice, and they are needed. Her mission in life is to receive messages from spirit for the earth itself. And I met her because there were messages that were coming through that weren't just for the earth and with the earth and relationship to this earth, but now also for humanity. And in that conversation that I was able to have with her, I asked her to understand deeper how this works, this messaging, these downloads, this relationship. And she was able to share that sometimes when she really receives messages, that there is a language that needs to be translated, understood. There is symbology. There is the body aspect. There are sounds. And it takes time. And she doesn't unpack this by herself in her meditative practice after drinking her matcha latte, but she actually sits and goes to other elders. She goes to peers. She goes into other indigenous tribe elders to actually ask if they've received these messages. And sometimes it takes years to really unpack, to come forth and explain them and give them to humanity in that way. Another example I want to give is through a friend of mine. Maybe some of you know her. She just wrote a book, Tricia Eastman. I don't have any affiliation with that book, so I'm not promoting that here, but it is an amazing book, by the way. She is an initiated medicine woman, and she's connected to many different traditions in a way. And what is amazing is that she had received an insight in 2019 to open up a wellness and treatment center in the Azores, Portugal. And she actually went to different elders that she was connected to. So one of them would be Melodoma Practice Somé. I don't know if you've heard of him. I've had some work and some divination work with him too. And she went to different elders in the Kogi tradition and sat and asked. Now we are in 2025, there is a permit, this wellness center is about to be built, but not without challenges. She faced a massive amount of challenges. So receiving messages, receiving insights, receiving vision takes accountability and a massive amount of responsibility. It isn't a path of abundance that just goes open without any challenge. So I want to go into looking now more into the psychedelic ecosystem. Yeah, and I'll give you an up-close example. I witnessed in a psychedelic organization, and to be honest, I have been part of organizations that were formed. I've been part of the disruption. I've been part of the things that I had to walk away from, the not so shiny thing that was promised, and say, no, that's not for me. But in these organizations, there were ceremonies being held with potential stakeholders, and the day after, straight into financial negotiations. No pause, no integration, and the illusion of alignment in one-time fast-tracked. Another example is an executive who was taking, probably on a bi-weekly basis, different compounds to receive new clarity, and yet their company entered into a cycle of burnout, confusion, and even bankruptcy. So to me, it's interesting when we spiritualize these contexts, but still have a codependency with it, to have the clarity or the vision, to then go elsewhere and start all over again, the same cycle. So there are 3 themes that are here that I want to share with you from these examples, is that expanded states do not override strategic intelligence. Yeah, the illusion of alignment in altered states. This is a lot. Might be that you're in a journey or in a ceremony with someone next to you and you're convinced they're your brother, your sister, your lover from a past life. Amazing. Right? But there is an illusion at play. We're exposed to our illusion and it will give you illusion. Another one is leadership that collapses due to accountability and sober discernment. And the 4th one, that is to me probably the most overlooked one or underrated one, is the one placing seniority outside of oneself. It's the most disempowering thing you can do as a human being with all of the gifts that we have in our body, in our psyche, in our ability to hold space, the ability to do the things that you do, have creativity, to be guided by so-called spirits or insights without an actual maturity and discernment taking place. So the difference between spiritual emergency and spiritual emergence is seen in this. Without wise mirrors, mistakes really disruption for destiny. And why does this keep on happening? Maybe it's because we are experiencing an elder collapse. Maybe we are experiencing an absence of elders, of community mirrors. Sacred spaces now operate like startups, fast-paced, ungrounded, and often unseasoned. And this is where the African proverb comes in that, to me, hits home on this topic. When the young are not initiated into the village, they will burn it down to feel its warmth. So we need elders, and I'm not speaking about authorities or those with an older age. I'm talking about truth tellers, stabilizers, initiators of maturity. And we see that already a lot more, like integration coaching, mentorship, supervision. We understand that. They ground insight and accountability, because medicine without ego maturity is a massive liability. So I want to share something about my own experience in this field and working with plant medicines. And let me paint a picture of 2018, where I was holding about 2 to 3 retreats a month, average of 12 people in each retreat. Yeah? And then in 2023, I started to understand the shift in this space. And I want to speak a little bit into the metaphysical of expanded states. I started to be aware of energies, deities, experiences in people, and I started to recognize patterns that I wasn't understanding or fully knowing how to make meaning of it. So I decided to sit with it, take my time, and inquire. So you know what I did? I launched a podcast because it's a great way to have conversations with people and find information. So I started asking the same question to many different people: clinical supervisor, an initiated medicine woman, a body worker, the same kind of questions. And what I started to find is that there was an energetic shift, a metaphysical shift happening. So I decided I don't know enough. And if I'm going to serve or be a carrier or representative, and people put their trust in my hands, I have to be in Olympic shape. That means I cannot serve 3 retreats a month, can I? So now it's only 4 a year. So why I'm sharing this is not to blow my own horn, but to actually invite you to the dependency we sometimes have with the role that we've even created with ourselves in those roles, in those places, in facilitation. And this is where it gets complex within the ecosystem of psychedelics, where you have stakeholders and investors. I've been offered many shiny things to invest and grow, but I could have never made the decision I made. Because you have to listen, when we are in an immature place, we have to listen to what is needed. And I will quote you something from a founder of a very famous organization that is now bankrupt, and I'll leave the name out. Yeah? And this is the quote: "We want to become the McDonald's of psychedelic services." How can you duplicate transformation and healing? It is complex. You need actual maturity and experience. And I'm not talking 3 years going and traveling all over the world and sitting here, sitting there and saying, oh, I'm a psychonaut, now I can serve. But dedicating your path for lifelong learning with one compound at a time. And maybe it's one compound for your whole life. I'm a walking paradox. I just want to say. Okay? There is one thing that I want to close my talk today, and I hope it's about being the ability to ask the right questions. And asking the right questions starts with acknowledging that integration over immediacy, somatic and relational anchoring are important, and peer feedback and friction as an actual spiritual practice, and dedicating yourself to it. There is a framework of 3 steps that I hope you can walk away with. Is feel it, test it, tend it. Anchor it in the body. How is your nervous system? So logical. It's nothing new what I'm telling you here, but I'm seeing it over and over and over. People stepping even into the experience without understanding what their capability of holding complexity can do. Because navigating an expanded state is a responsibility, and it asks for skill over time. Yeah? Test it, put it into relationship, into time, into the soil of your life, and tend it, nurture it. Don't rush it. They become trustworthy. So my title of my talk is Chosen by the Medicine. So I'm closing with, you may be chosen, but by what and by whom? Because in truth, anything you're putting yourself into the relationship with these sacraments, because to me they're sacraments, they're not just molecules or psychedelics. To me they're an entheogenic, but that's my preference. Yeah? It takes leadership, it has a relationship with power, and all of that together for each one of us here today, it's a responsibility. It doesn't matter on what part of this ecosystem you're in. So I invite you to stay curious and really be honest with yourself and those around, to really admit to that thing that you don't know. There are things we simply don't know yet. So thank you very much for today already, this morning, and thank you so much for your patience on the start of it. Thank you.